units have they been assigned?
Right.
And what classification are they in? And then if they oppose or would like to contest that or ask
And they
that.
can take that through the process.
Right, and I mean, ultimately it could come down to revising the schedule, which I think we would have to do by a local law to create some potentially new category.
Yeah.
But until we know what we're classifying them as now, and then they ask for it, I'm not sure if there's a lot for the board to do.
So do we know when we
Well,
classify them as?
You know, it's like you had said, the apartments are pretty self-explanatory. They were gonna be 1 EDU each, but it was kind of left open-ended as far as where we were gonna go with this public community bathroom in the downstairs, and that was just kind of bounced around. It really, we never had any real concrete answers on how we were gonna approach that, so.
There was some discussion about the village waiving that EDU as our support for the restroom being public, right?
Right, there was a discussion about that.
The county's gonna clean the restroom, that's part of what they're taking care of the maintenance of the restroom. We're not doing that.
Restroom.
Right.
So we've spoken about what looks like 3 possible options. Either no EDU for that downstairs, 1 EDU because it's 1 bathroom, 4 EDUs because it's 4 businesses that are gonna be using that. Those would seem to be the 3
So
ways we can do that.
again, I think this is Jerry's first decision. I mean, I think that it's not really appropriate for the board to say, okay, here's what we think the EDUs should be. It should be Jerry making the decision, notifying the property owner about the number of EDUs that he's classified it as, and it's a new use, and then we'll see what they say. At the end
Do
of
you
the-
have an advisement, Jerry?
And if Jerry wants to talk with me, you know,
After I get out my advisement, I want the money, so, you know, I'll hit them for all it's worth, but, you know, I don't know that that's what,
and again, it's looking at the EDU categories and making a determination based on what we've done in other similar types of buildings where there's apartments above and a commercial space below, and going through that analysis.
Right.
I mean, there's, should be fairly straightforward as to how Jerry gets to the answer. It's just going through it and notifying the owner.
Right. And then if they don't,
Well, how do we deal with other retail spaces there on Front Street?
well, they're categorized, I believe, just per facility. If they have 1 bathroom, they're being charged 1 EDU. Because they're just, mostly are just small shops.
Yeah, but this will be used more frequently.
Of course, you know, when you have the buildings that are the shop on the bottom and then the apartments up above, well, as long as the counts are correct, it's the shop as 1, and then each apartment is considered 1.
Right.
So, I mean, I'll digest it a little bit further. I thought that it was gonna be, the village was gonna make a decision on how they wanted to approach that, and so, but I'll digest it, next meeting, you'll have an answer as to how we're gonna go, and then, is that final?
So again, there's a process in the local law for you to make the decision to notify the property owner if they think they should be in a different category. Then they need to, there's a process for them to appeal that or request that you recategorized. And we went through that process with, I think,
Weaver Gardens.
phase 1 of the Weaver
Yeah.
Gardens. And if in that discussion, the village board says, you know, we think at this point we should create a new category, then we can do that as well. But again, the first step is always, what is the decision by the wastewater treatment plant operator as to number of EDUs for this particular use?
I don't care what your, whatever you decide, but I'm just wondering, how does like a high volume place work, like original Italian or the?
Yeah, a
Southern?
restaurant.
So I can't say,
Restaurants are higher.
yeah, I can't say when the EDU law was
Okay.
created,
Yeah.
there was an attempt to
Well, there's
assign
40-some
number of
categories.
EDUs. There's a lot of categories.
Yeah, there is a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I've been going through them here, a little bit here, you know, but,
You know, one of the things that of course is difficult with an EDU system, it's a proxy for actual use.
Right.
You know, the best idea would be actual use, but we're not a metered village for waste, which means we try to approximate it.
What's that, Jerry?
restaurant, diner, 2.
Is 2 EDU?
Right, and I think if I recall correctly, I wasn't with the village, but my office was when the EDU law was put into place. We had access at that time to the Suez water meter readings, which they've since denied
Yes,
us.
that was before the denial.
Right, and so the EDU categories, I'm sure, picked 2
Pretty much
for
lined up,
restaurant
I think.
to try to make it still work.
Retail is
Yeah.
1.
Yeah, it's gonna be more than one retail.
Well, that's the thing, I mean, you have all these little, what do you call them, the little kiosks or those stores, I mean, it's still a retail location.
Yeah, but you got 4 stores and you got, it's just open to anybody that comes along to use it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think
Well,
we should,
again, we haven't,
And this will be a discussion, I mean, Jerry, I'm sure, is gonna talk with me about what he thinks initially, and I'll say, oh, here's my thoughts on it, and
yeah,
when he makes the decision, again, it'll go to the property owner, and they'll have an opportunity to come, to bring it back to the board, if that's what they'd like to do.
perfect.
Welcome to my
You
world.
trying to get on?
I'm happy that this has finally come to this point, because at least we can make a decision, because,
Yeah,
they have, the building is occupied in a couple of locations, and this isn't on the books yet. and
yeah, we haven't turned that billing yet.
Yeah, it's waiting.
It's not like I have a valve over there and I can turn off. and-
When was service connected?
Well, a couple months ago.
That was done, yeah,
Okay.
because there was always a service there, it was just, it needed to be connected inside, I don't know exactly when they had that termination, but or connection point, but it was a while ago.
I think they're supposed to notify you when that connects, and then at that time, you're supposed to make the decision as to what to classify it as.
I just don't think we've done so because we were waiting.
We've given out a couple of
That would be
temporary.
I went like that. It wasn't
Make
easy.
sure they, have a function.
I hit it back on, I just wanted everybody to call me smooth.
Can I ask a question about the availability of the public restrooms? Because the other day, I think it was Saturday, I was going around putting up posters for the house tour. And the sensor wasn't work, I think it's a sensor above the door that opens.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, so it wasn't, you could get out. If people walked in through the stores, they could come out the electric doors, but you couldn't go in that way. So, my question is, availability, do we have some sort of an agreement about how, available those public restrooms will be, what hours, or?
Currently, there is no agreement. The property owner had asked that the village board pass a fairly simple resolution, just waiving the EDU fees in exchange for a statement that they would have it available as a public restroom. It appears that they are somehow otherwise required to make it a public restroom, but there is no agreement in place.
Will they just put a sign or something?
You know, in the beginning of the process, we thought that maybe they had to have some sort of public space in response to grant monies, but we're not so sure. I think that was a voluntary thing that they decided to do.
It was
I don't-
an agreement with HOM that was in the purchase agreement, and HOM was supposed to maintain the public restrooms, and they opted out of doing
Yeah.
that. So there's nothing with the grant sources that require them to have the public restrooms.
So I guess they could be public restrooms when they would be okay with having that area be public, open. I know that they have a touchpad outside for people to get in, I suppose the residents upstairs.
I mean, from an EDU perspective, I don't know if I'd want to fall into the government category, which it might be if it's a public restroom, because that's 3 EDUs.
Yeah,
So what happens if the property owner decides to not make them public restrooms anymore?
Then it's the
That's
property
just one
owner's
EDU?
private decision.
I'm just asking, would it be just one EDU then?
Oh, good, don't know, we'll have to talk
Yeah,
with Jerry to see
right.
where he concludes.
well, if it's used by 4 shops, it could be 4 EDUs,
Right.
right?
And that's where we're gonna
Like
see
you said,
where Jerry
stores
comes
are
from.
very
It's
small.
It's kind of a unique case.
Do you know what a service organizations are?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
The,
Perfect.
the stores only usually have like one person working, they're very small
Right.
compared to the other
Yeah, they are
stores.
very,
Yeah.
That's all,
incubators. Yeah.
I mean,
There's a lot of
Things to
interesting,
think
unique
about, yeah.
facts
It's like a
about
one
this
bedroom apartment,
space.
Yeah,
has one person in it.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that building is unique, that's for sure,
yeah.
different. It's nice, different.
Okay.
So Jerry will figure that out.
It's already big.
If you don't like it, they'll appeal us. That's fine. Our next topic is OPD cleaning person.
So, I talked with the chief a little earlier today, and then I'd also talked briefly with Lynn Bruce, and Cindy had communicated with Lynn at the Civil Service Department last week. So the Civil Services take on the OPD cleaning person and allowing UDA to do, or to take on that role would be, we as a village would need to create a new job duties and new position. It would be a combination of the records clerk and cleaner positions. There's a cleaner position authorized under civil service that would fill this.
Couldn't we just hire her from each role part-time?
No. Civil service's take on that is no. She is a full-time records clerk right now. She works 40 hours a week. And if we tried to offer her a second part-time job, civil service would view that as avoiding the overtime requirements because she'd be working more than 40 hours a week.
So we've got to create a job description that breaks out the hours that she would spend doing each.
Yep, and then the records clerk position is competitive, cleaner position is labor class, and so they'll then say, okay, if she's probably more than 50% a records clerk and stay a competitive position. I don't know, and I wasn't able to have a full conversation with Lynn. She and I are supposed to talk tomorrow to explore, like, I don't know if creating this entirely new position would mean that there would have to be an exam simply for this records clerk cleaner position, which would seem a little silly. I'm assuming that UDA would be able to transfer right into it.
Yeah.
But, of course, this also means that she would have a new job title. I don't believe she's currently in a union now because she'd be doing cleaning duties. She might get claimed by the CSEA or some other union. And so I don't know really if she's in the union then, what her salary or compensation would look like as a result of that.
And would these changes accomplish what the chief and what she are looking to do?
Well,
I mean,
yes, at the end of the day, they would, because she would have a full-time job with job duties corresponding to both cleaning, which would be a fairly small portion of her job, and then the primary role of being a records clerk. I mean, it would tie it all together, but it brings in, again, a host of questions such as, would she then be in a union?
But she was looking to do this in addition to her full-time job, right, to earn some extra.
Right, so
So
she would,
cash.
she would again still be limited to 40 hours. It's not, she's not gonna be able to work in
I think
excess
that's
of
what-
40 hours unless we allow
That's
her
the
to
way
work
to do
overtime.
that, right,
Her hourly rate would go up.
right, okay, yeah.
And there was something in the law that said we can't have her have a regular job and then 1099 her as a subcontractor for
No,
that.
they view that as avoiding basically paying your employee overtime.
She isn't in the union,
Now,
just so you know,
right, she isn't now.
but she follows the CSEA contract.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, and so if that's the case, then it sounds like it wouldn't be, and we don't have to worry about suddenly the union claiming her and bumping her up all of a sudden. But I probably want to just double check that, and then too, I mean, we would have to be concerned that she would become swept into the
Yeah,
union as a
right.
result of this. So a lot of nuance here. I don't think we can say finally, like, yes, let's go ahead at this point right now. Have another call.
There's more research.
So what are our next steps then?
Just talk a little more with Lynn, try to get our heads more around the union contract and what it might encompass. Really understand, okay, if we do this, then how much are we talking about paying her? If she's already following the union contract, how much more a week are we gonna build into her hourly rate? That type of stuff. So no action item.
No action on that.
Okay, good.
We'll do more research. Next item is discussion on parking change in front of Farmers Insurance on Main Street. So this has been officially brought up to me.
Didn't that used to be angled parking in front of that? Remember that?
I don't believe, this is the old bakery.
Yeah,
I don't think there was room for angled parking there with that street.
Increase slightly, but I don't think enough for eight.
yeah.
Just right over the track.
Right
There were the tracks, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's only 3 spots there, isn't there?
Right now, there's some big snow piles there. Somebody's car was parked there.
Well, it
Well, what
probably
are they
makes
asking
sense.
you to do?
They're
If
asking
someone's-
for some sort of, they're asking to match it to Lake Street, just that one spot.
So it'd be angled.
Well, no, just the law. Lake Street is 2 or 3 hours.
I think it's 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah,
Plus no overnight, right, on Lake Street?
Well, there's no parking, 5 AM to 7 AM. Yeah, 5 AM to 7 AM. We did that so that the cars were out of the way for sweeping the
wow, yeah,
streets.
right, sweeping, yeah.
Rusty?
So this is in front of Farmers Insurance, there's 3 spots there. As the gentleman from Farmers Insurance, is he the one that's asking for this?
Yes.
So he's asking generally that those 3 spots be time-constrained parking and no overnight parking. And I commented that he's not the owner of that building, and he doesn't have all that building.
Plus, there are apartments upstairs where people do live there overnight.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we can't do it, I'm just saying that the gentleman owner hadn't requested that.
Maybe we should seek that input, right?
Yeah, let's put that in there. Ken,
That's what it was.
So to just touch on the process, it would be a local law if you might all have taken a perusal through the vehicle and traffic section of the village's local laws. In it, I think it's very, very boring and detailed as to the exact number of feet from, you know, the intersection of wherever it is in the other place, as to what the time restricted parkings might be. So if we are to entertain this, we would need someone to go out and tell us,
Not
Measure some stuff?
measure exactly how many feet we're talking about, and then it's just changing the schedule that's in the local law, which would be a relatively straightforward thing to do.
I guess my question is, do we have any other parking tweaks? If we open up that law, is it,
Usually there's just 1,000 parking tweaks that could be made,
Yeah.
and it's a great idea to check on that,
One shot deal.
but we could also just do them as they come up.
Yeah. Rather than making a project out of it.
But I mean, if there are a few that you can think of, I mean, whatever the board wants to do, I'm happy to do.
Well, I think it certainly makes sense to look into it if we can get the
No parking
owners'
village-wide.
input.
No parking village-wide.
do we have to, so if we
Is there
do,
a,
No
the rest of
on-street
Main
parking.
Street there, just open parking?
yes.
Yeah, there's no restriction
Yeah.
there, is there?
No.
Well, why do we need restriction here?
was a business, yeah.
Good question.
Somebody apparently keeps parking there all day long.
In the middle of
Maybe that
the
person lives
3
upstairs.
spots.
Right, in the middle of the 3 spots, so his customers can't even park in front of his establishment to do his business.
What was the country store, was there ever a restriction on the parking?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, insofar as a person's double parking, then I'd ask the police officers to, you know, issue tickets on that.
Well, there's no lines.
There's no
Right.
lines.
Well, so then we can consider putting lines out.
Lines.
We talked about that.
For spaces.
It's too cold to paint.
That's good for you.
Another
Well,
one.
how are you gonna enforce it if there's not, if it's not marked?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
So let's do this. Let's talk to the owners first, let's not.
Yeah. And there may be other parking ideas in the village too, bring them at the same time maybe. Whatever we can get together anyway. So our next item, moving right along, is minutes from the last meeting, 11/5. Did you get them? See any issues with them?
Will we accept the minutes of the November 5th meeting? I'm sorry, this is.
November.
November.
We're off a couple months there.
November 5th, meeting, is that what I said?
Except February. That's okay.
November 5th.
November 5th, yes,
You have a second?
I'll second,
Okay. Vote?
yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna abstain.
And yes. Our next item is the treasurer's report. Me and Jan went through that.
One question Jen mentioned about this. We're sort of stuck with these EMTs, we're paying them out of our budget, which we don't have a budget for. And same with the police department, we're paying them out of our budget. But we will be reimbursed from the school, and we will be reimbursed from the EMTs. At the very least, we'll take it out of whatever money they've got less in the sweep.
Right.
That was the only way we could figure it out. If other than that, they had no money to pay their EMTs. So that's why that's, you know.
So they're still on our books, they show,
They're still on our books until they start paying us back.
the EMT shows up a couple spots, not just the EM, there's like insurance and
Yeah, yeah.
FICA.
Oh, yeah, that's all that stuff they have to reimburse us for. We couldn't just let them hang.
Mr. Mayor? I was under the impression that the $80,000 or so in the squad reserve was gonna pay for those EMTs in this transition period. Maybe I'm not
May.
correct about that.
Dan has some.
I thought that was how that was supposed to work.
They didn't present that to us as far as the.
I think his idea is to transfer that to the EMT company once it gets made. And
My understanding is that when they finally get their authorization to operate, which is the certificate of necessity or need, then they will take over responsibility, and then the employees would shift over, and then in that initial period, they won't have any direct income. And I think that's what Dan was thinking of using that monies for. So it's not to reimburse the village for this limbo period that's happening.
So are they thinking of taking it out of the sweet fund, is that what they're doing?
possibly, not sure. Let's see, we can get that number here. We have to add them all up.
Yeah, but I mean, we know how much they get.
Yeah, we've got it back here. Well, yeah, there was, I mean, that was the main thing me and Jan talked about was the EMTs, and then, there's some budget amendments we should do. Like, we never amended the budget to add in the contract from the school for,
Even though we
The school
authorized
resource
that
officer.
position.
yes. So, it doesn't show up as revenue,
Yeah,
but it shows up in the expenses, it shows
Yeah, it
up in
would
the
have-
budget.
we would have the other side as
Yeah.
a revenue,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's stuff like that.
We can do that next time.
So currently, we've, just in salary, we've paid the EMTs $20,400 this year. Depending on when they cut over.
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Okay.
Second?
And a vote?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'll keep working with Jan to get, you know what I mean, there's some numbers in there that are, there's questions around them, but there's answers to them too, so.
Well, so you also had a question about contingency. Contingency is just a budget number that we put in there. We don't use it unless we need it.
Unless we need it.
It just, you know,
It's a placeholder.
It's contingency, it just sits there until we, you know, if we wanted to pay something, we could pay it out of contingency, but we don't use it until we get into a pinch. If they give it to Jeff, mostly he takes it.
yeah, you can
It's
say that.
cigars.
And then we take it back from it.
Right now, nobody's got it.
Yeah, then we'll take it from them next year.
And if we don't use it, that sort of goes into our fund balance if we have.
Maybe you could plow the road with it or something.
That's all. It's nothing our way of budgeting for.
I'm sure plenty of people have ideas for it. All right, our next thing is department head reports. Jerry? Got anything?
You know what, just been doing some, different repairs at the plant on different things, and, keeping up with the PM services, keeping everything flowing, so
It's a good thought.
that's about it, you know.
We're still doing well on the bringing in the,
Everybody's regular. Yeah.
Right, on that note, I've got another obligation.
sorry, I gotta talk to you about that other thing later.
You gotta go.
Okay. Jeff?
The only thing additional I have is, the storm, the snowstorm.
Doing great.
It was a perfect storm for us. And we come in at, well, we start at 7. Storm didn't start till in the afternoon.
2:30.
So, my guys have been here since 7. We plowed till 7 at night, and then I sent everybody home. I said, come back in at 4, which we did. During the course of doing the cleanup, we have 5 plow trucks. 2 of them went down, so now we're down to 3 trucks. And then our main salt truck blew a maxi, which stops the truck, so we parked that. We had to get the parts to repair the plows and the maxi, so we couldn't do that till today. I have 7 guys. One of those 7 is me, which leaves 6. Of those 6, 3 are brand new, so they didn't know the route, didn't know really what to do. So the piece of equipment we used to clear the sidewalks blew the drive shaft, so we had to park that. I mean, it's not that we went to use this stuff and it didn't work. It was working and blew apart. So, just so everybody knows what could happen and what does happen. But, so, the way things looked at the end of the day Friday, I think we did a pretty good
I
job.
think so too.
So, I had to borrow one of the sewers plow trucks when the 2 blew apart, so they helped us out with that. But, other than that,
I think people just like to complain sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
They look out the window, you know, and they see the roads have been plowed, and they don't even have a car. It wasn't going anywhere.
it's a good point.
Yeah, you plowed it in the end of my driveway.
Right.
I get a lot of that.
A couple cars stuck here and there.
Car for
Yeah.
doors.
Well, you know, I've got all season tires.
Great.
They say, oh, what you need is fall season tires. Especially if you live on a hill, but.
Yeah. It's sort of incline.
But that's the storm in a nutshell. Then we got 8 or 10 inches of snow, so that was interesting.
The weather service is somewhere around 9 inches.
I know there was not some happy people, but I still think we did a pretty good job. Other than that, unless somebody's got something for me, that's all I
Did
really.
you have anything about East Temple Street? I know we're going with that.
East Temple Street,
Do you want to give an official update on that?
I called Nice Egg today and said, what the heck are you doing? And they said, what do you want me to do? I said, I want you to pave what you've got ripped up. And they said, okay. I said, and Roots, who's doing the job for Nice Egg, told me last week that today they'd be paving, which they did.
They were on it. They were on it.
I talked, Nice Egg called me back, said we're gonna pave, we'll probably get to Green Street today, and then tomorrow they're coming back
And that's where they
to
are.
finish up what they're gonna do. I told them that if you cannot repair the road with hot mix blacktop, you cannot dig in it. So they're probably done over there. Nice Egg said, okay, I said, it's either that or I pull your street opening permit, so either way, you're not gonna dig in the street. So, that's where we are with Nice Egg. And I'm trying to get a hold of Waterworks, because they've got some grand scheme in their mind that they're gonna tear things up and redo services, and I'm not gonna let them do that either. So they're gonna have to wait till
Yeah, that was a real mess over there.
So
Yeah, we had
hopefully
melt and
after,
snow, it just turned into a big one.
right. So hopefully after tomorrow, it'll be at least in a little better shape. And then in the spring, after nice egg finishes, we'll go in and repave, so. We gotta do Green Street anyway, so.
You leave that one a mess.
I guess
People been
my
there
question
for
from
years.
a,
That's it.
I didn't repave.
from a financial standpoint, so now because of what they've done, which wasn't anything that we wanted to do, we have to repave East Temple Street, the intersection of Page Street and Green Street. When we were only gonna repave Green Street,
Right,
but NICEAG, I mean, they've torn that road up, it's complete.
right.
So they forced us into repaving all of that.
For the most part, yes. The way, like Lake Street, I made Waterworks and NICEAG pay for repaving the whole thing, but that was because I paved it within 5 years, so.
Right.
They were basically chewing up something that was in really good shape.
Yeah, that was
Unfortunately-
not too long ago, because I remember my kids skateboarding on it for the first time. It was like,
Unfortunately, it's been a little longer than that since I did East Temple, so we're gonna have to bite the bullet and do that, so, unfortunately. But we'll make it happen, because that's what we do at Keaton's, so we just,
Rusty?
Small thing, can we put up one of our green street signs or some such thing on the end of Lake Street? Because I've had a number of people tell me that they get directed to Lake Street for the post office or this or that, and there's no sign there that says that it's Lake Street.
oh, okay, yeah, we can do
I
that.
know there's a new sign there, with a couple of poles that maybe has the brewery thing on it or something like that. I don't know if we can put it right on that sign or something, but some kind of a Lake Street sign.
We'll take care of it.
I think it's the Main Street end of Lake Street is not marked, right?
Yes, that's,
Yeah, maybe.
the one-way end on my Front Street, not so concerned about.
We were talking about parking in front of my big thing with parking is, right now our law says no parking within 15 feet of an intersection.
Right.
I really think we need to stretch that out.
Yeah.
25 or 30 feet even, because,
It's hard to see sometimes.
right,
It is.
there's a lot of
There's a lot of
intersections
blind
that people
intersections.
call me complaining about, so.
Like that one, I mean, Main and Page Street, you come up
Right.
there,
Yeah.
cars, you can't see it all.
Yeah.
Lake
So that might
Street.
be something you guys want to think about doing also.
I would encourage you, if you're thinking about that, to figure out exactly how many parking spots you're gonna lose as a result of that, because I'm sure this would generate a lot of public interest.
Right.
Well, no parking in the village, but
It's safe though, it's not, I mean, there's an argument for
I
it.
assume that we'll make a law that gives us an option, so it doesn't have to be 30 feet, it can be.
usually the laws are written such that it says very clearly it is this far. So it has to be very clear as to what the distance is, otherwise you have issues with enforcement. If we say, well, it's either 25 or 30 as the code enforcement officer picks, that's not gonna cut it.
Even with a sign there that says no parking from either corner.
That's how they determine where to put the sign.
Yeah, that's how they determine where to put the sign. Somebody needs to be able to look at the local law that says exactly where it's supposed to be.
So I have something with parking in the storm. I know it's been brought up before, but what is the board's take on alternate side street parking on streets that have parking on both sides, right? Like East Temple Street, for example, has parking on one side. You couldn't really do it there. Same as like Page Street. But Main Street, there's a bunch of streets that have parking on both sides, like Ross Street. Alternate street parking so that you guys can clear the streets. Plus, we're taking a lot of liability with that, those three new guys weaving in and out of cars.
at least for the
What do they
winter
quit
time,
for?
right? Can we
We're buying them cars.
flip flop that back and forth? I mean,
What was that,
that's-
Charles?
can we flip flop that back and forth? I mean, at least for the winter time, that's a great idea because like,
That's
we
how
gotta
these-
get that snow.
Usually it's a set date, December 1st.
To a certain, yeah.
I've tried to get every board for the last 25 years to do alternate side parking, and for some reason it never happens.
The residents don't like it.
Then they gotta go out and move the.
I didn't like it.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
But I live in Brooklyn.
Right now, it's a mess. I'm telling you, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only tickets I ever got, it's alternate.
Yeah,
Parking
if you
tickets.
park on the
I
street
personally
all
like
the
what
time.
the towns do.
No parking?
No parking on the street from November 2nd to,
Well,
Sounds always as soon as you cross the bridge.
I think I've seen also some places that do no parking on the streets if there's been a snowfall of greater
Like
than
2 inches.
2 inches, you know, at least for a period of
And I get to
24
wait.
hours after that. I mean, you're still gonna end up with a lot of people leaving cars on the streets,
Yeah.
but that gives you an excuse to, or a justification for ticketing them and then later towing them if they're not actually moved. But I mean, that's, whatever you do here, you are opening up a pretty thorny can of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've played with this for a long time, you're asking for
Oh,
trouble.
yeah, yeah.
Well, people gotta understand it, you gotta get the snow on the street.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen cars on the street for a long duration and then the snow just around it. I mean,
Yeah, the car never moves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, my concern is
Then we
more,
plow them in.
yeah,
yeah, we do that.
my concern is somebody clipping a car with a
you
plow.
know, a car comes down, don't remember, there's a car buried on the thing.
Yeah, especially if you
I
got
think
a
it's
whole.
somehow really would be.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Must be a kid, yeah.
So anyway, that's all I got.
Mayor, just real quick, did anyone have any comments or revisions or wanted to talk about the OHPC law? Because I know we introduced that at the last meeting, it's been sent off to the county, they're looking at it tomorrow. Nadine has sent me some tweaks to it that I'm going to be implementing. I wanted to ask if anyone here had any changes before I go through and do an updated version of the law. The public hearing is the second meeting in December, so we've got some time here if you're not prepared tonight to say, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z. If you could send me some things that you might have within the next, I was gonna say a week or so, but, you know,
Okay,
work over Thanksgiving, but,
before the next meeting.
before the next meeting,
Right.
and then I can get a new updated law, and, I'm not sure, Nadine or Jeff, has it been sent to the preservation group that?
Not yet, but I was waiting to hear from